History remembers Hiroshima and Chernobyl. These names have become synonymous with nuclear tragedy. Yet, countless other incidents have faded into obscurity, their stories untold. One such event unfolded in the isolated wilderness of the Kyshtym region of the Soviet Union in 1957. The Kyshtym disaster, as it would be known, serves as a stark reminder of the devastating consequences of unchecked nuclear ambition. The Kyshtym disaster was not a nuclear explosion in the traditional sense. It wasn't a bomb that detonated. Instead, it was a catastrophic accident at a plutonium production plant known as Mayak. This incident, shrouded in secrecy, released a significant amount of radioactive material into the atmosphere. The world remained largely unaware of the disaster for decades. The 1950s were a time of intense global tension. The Cold War was at its peak. The United States and the Soviet Union were locked in a nuclear arms race. Both superpowers were obsessed with amassing larger and more powerful arsenals. This pursuit of nuclear superiority often came at the expense of safety. The Soviet Union, in particular, prioritized rapid production over careful protocols. The Mayak facility, tasked with producing plutonium for the Soviet nuclear program, epitomized this dangerous approach. Safety measures at the plant were inadequate. Workers lacked proper training and protective gear. The Kyshtym disaster was a tragedy in slow motion. A series of failures, both technical and human, culminated in the catastrophic release of radioactive material. It began with a cooling system malfunction in a storage tank containing high-level radioactive waste. This seemingly contained incident quickly spiraled out of control. The malfunctioning cooling system caused the temperature inside the tank to rise rapidly. This led to the evaporation of the liquid waste and a buildup of pressure. Without adequate safety mechanisms in place, the pressure continued to build until the tank exploded with tremendous force. The explosion ripped through the facility, sending a plume of radioactive material high into the atmosphere. Section 4. The immediate aftermath. Silence and uncertainty. The explosion at Mayak was unlike anything the world had ever seen. A radioactive cloud, invisible to the naked eye, spread silently across the surrounding countryside. The Soviet government, fearing international backlash and internal panic, chose to keep the disaster a secret. Despite the efforts at secrecy, the effects of the disaster were impossible to completely conceal. In the immediate aftermath, thousands of people living near the plant were evacuated. Many experienced acute radiation sickness, suffering from nausea, vomiting, and hair loss. Yet, the true extent of the disaster remained hidden from the world, masked by a veil of secrecy and misinformation. Section 5. Lingering scars, health, environment, and policy. The Kyshtym disaster left an indelible mark on the region and its people. The long-term health effects of the radiation exposure were devastating. The incidence of cancer, particularly leukemia and thyroid cancer, skyrocketed in the affected populations. Birth defects and other genetic abnormalities also became more common. The environment, too, bore the brunt of the disaster. The explosion and subsequent fallout contaminated a vast area, rendering it uninhabitable for decades. The Teka River, a vital source of water for the region, became heavily polluted with radioactive waste. The disaster forced a reassessment of nuclear safety protocols, both within the Soviet Union and internationally. Section 6. Echoes of the past. Lessons for the future. The Kyshtym disaster, though largely forgotten, holds profound lessons for humanity. It underscores the immense responsibility that comes with harnessing the power of the atom. It highlights the crucial importance of transparency and accountability in the nuclear industry. The lessons of Kyshtym extend beyond the realm of nuclear power. This disaster, born from secrecy and a disregard for safety, serves as a cautionary tale for all industries that deal with hazardous materials and processes. It reminds us that the pursuit of progress must never come at the cost of human life or environmental well-being. Remembering such disasters, however painful, is essential to prevent their repetition. It is a collective responsibility to ensure that the mistakes of the past are not repeated in the future.